Okay, here is the last step. It's the reassembly process. In a lot of ways, this is the most perilous part of making any custom, because if you get too forceful and break something, then you can undo hours of hard work. So here's how I reassemble the figure. My tools are an ordinary hairdryer and an ordinary freezer. So we start by taking the pieces that have pegs, such as the arms and the legs, and we stick them in the freezer. So let's do that. Yep, there they go. Into the freezer. Okay, now while that's happening, we take the hairdryer to whatever has a hole. In this case, we're going to do the arms and legs. Oh, oh, oh. Out of focus. Focus, focus. Okay. So first we're going to put in a leg, and then we're going to put in an arm. We do this by blowing on it with a hairdryer until it feels nice and soft. Let me set this up on a tripod so I can actually do this with both hands. Okay, so I'm using a pair of Revoltech pliers to hold the body, because the heat that comes out of a hairdryer can actually be pretty painful on your skin, and you're going to have to hold it for a little while. And, you know, most human tolerances aren't able to take that. So let's spray this with some heat. Alright, that should be enough. Now we get the arm and the leg I put in the freezer earlier. The cold has made them much more rigid. So, yeah, and there we go. Now the arm is in the socket. And we do the same for the leg. And remember, you gotta be sure you're holding it just right. If you put pressure on the wrong part of the figure, or you put too much, you could end up breaking something you've previously molded and destroy all of your work. Alright, that's not going in, so we're gonna have to put a little more heat directly into that hip socket. And remember that you could accidentally blow your subject off the table. Key. Come on. Okay, her belt buckle came off. That's okay. I can put that back on very easily. The important part is that none of the bigger, more detailed sculpted bits broke when I did that. Okay. Yep, that is a leg in a socket. Now I'm going to put the other arm and leg in off camera, and then we'll come back for the head. Alright, you may be wondering why her feet are still off. That's because when you put Shadow's legs into Wave's hips, the result is something of an A stance, and I wanted to make sure that both of her feet would remain flat on the ground when she was standing. So I decided to, you know, just put them like that, and then everything will go wildly out of focus. There we go. So that I can make sure that the ankles will go into the hips, and, well, you know what I'm talking about at this point. So yeah. So this is all to make sure she has a nice flat stance once I, you know, finish. But that's going to be the final step, and we'll leave that for the full assembly. Now we're going to talk about the head. As you probably are aware of, the neck peg is the biggest peg on your figure. So it's going to be the hardest to get back into the hole, especially if you have a lot of sculpt over there that you don't want to damage. So you're going to stick this back in the freezer, and you're going to put the heat on this for just a little bit longer than you did for the torso, because you want to make sure that the hole is really soft so that the peg will go in without too much force having to be applied. And there we go! Man, that head attached so easily that I wish I had the camera on it. It was one of the smoothest reattachments I ever had. And here she has her feet attached. Her toes don't quite touch the ground on her left foot, but it's still flat on the ground for the rest of the heel. That's mostly decorative. It's not going to affect the way she stands. And yeah, that's what the bunny figure's like complete. Just gonna go on with some pictures. By the way, those are glued in place, and she's lost ankle articulation. You know, it's only clay. I can't really preserve the articulation for clay. Okay. Well, that's the extent of the video footage for this.